The following programming is sponsored by Tom Toole III. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group.
Good afternoon, greater Philadelphia area. This is Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Stacey Mitchell. She's Sarah Tymon. We've got Gabe, who is not allowed to talk during the show anymore because of some Freudian slips. He's on the camera. And again, we are streaming live on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Just look up Tom Toole Sales Group. And we are the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. So the big news, this is like the only thing anyone's been talking about, in my view, since last week was the Fed meetings, right? And the big news, in my view, was a lot of people predicted like 2 or 3 rate hikes would happen this year. And the Fed came out and they said, hey, we're raising them 6 more times after raising 1/4 point. So if you don't know what that means, let me give you some perspective, and then we can talk about reactions and what this is going to mean for the economy and the housing market, because they're 2 little different things. There's going to be some different reactions. The Fed has a key interest rate, and when they raise that rate, it has an influence on the markets. It has an influence on the 10-year Treasury bills, and typically mortgage rates follow the yield on the Treasury bills. So when it goes up, rates go up. It goes down, rates go down. That's the way to break it down so everyone can understand this, because I don't know that a lot of people understand what it means when the Fed raises the rate.
Right.
Fair statement there. So knowing that they're going to do this 6 more times, this is the first rate hike we've seen since 2018, what do you ladies think this means for the market? And how's the rest of 2022 going to play out from an economic standpoint?
Does it always get raised by at least 1/4 point, or sometimes does it go, what increments does it typically go up in?
Great question. So in the past, I mean, you can raise it. They've raised it sometimes 1/2 point. I'd have to go back historically. I don't really, to be honest with you, I've never seen it more than that. I don't know if you have, Stacey. There was talk it was going to be 1/2 point.
Right. And
then I think with like the Ukraine conflict and the never-ending coronavirus pandemic, happy 2-year anniversary, everybody. They pulled it back a little bit, and it seems like they're going to now more smaller increment hikes.
Would they do like an 1/8 or?
I don't know.
Good question.
Because I mean, if they did, so they most recently raised it 1/4. If they go in a couple more times this year and raise it by an 1/8, to where at the end of the day you're still, looking at the same total amount raised, they just did it in smaller increments more frequently, then you're in the same position as if we had the 4 rate hikes all at a 1/4. So I think that'll be interesting to see what amount they raise it by, because I mean, I think what we're really going to care about as we kind of look at the year over year and everything is what was the total amount it went up by, not necessarily in how many increments.
So I'm looking up here the history of this and what they've done in the past. So I should have an answer for you here shortly. I mean, I know at one point in the 80s, the Fed rate was 20%. So I mean, there's been some fluctuation with all this, and that's look at rates. Then they were much higher. Mm-hmm. So while I'm looking this up, Stacey, what do you think does this all mean here? I'd like to kind of get your take on this, and then I'll have some data for you, Sarah.
Well, they probably went with that 1/4 point because they don't want to, really have a panic reaction. Mm-hmm. There definitely needs to be stability because of this inflation. As people already upset and semi-panicking. I don't see any real panic. I mean, people are mad. They're mad about the gas prices and, some of the food costs. But I don't see that much pulling back. And as far as the housing market, I still don't see where it's making a big shift. We have buyers and they're still buying. Sellers are still selling. But I think for the most part, people know that this is going to happen. They're expecting it to happen because we can't be low interest rates forever and ever. Mm-hmm. Although it's, fun to ride that wave, but people are expecting it. So, and they do want it to have an effect. Folks don't want any dramatic changes, but this small incremental and hopefully to reduce the inflation rate is the ultimate goal. And, whether we'll see how it affects the housing market in the months going forward.
So to answer your question, Sarah, it looks like a quarter of a point is the lowest increment that they've changed rates, but in some cases they have done a point, 2 points. Back in this was in 1981. They brought them down 4 percentage points, and then they brought it up 4, and then they brought it down 7. So
wow, that's big swings.
It looks like 1981 unemployment was 8.5% and inflation was 10.3%. So they probably had to get a handle on things. I wasn't even alive, so I'll take their word for it on this website here. A quarter of a point looks like the lowest the lowest increment that they work, and I haven't seen anything. But there were a couple weird ones in here. Like one point they were 8.63%. So obviously they had to do something less than a quarter of a point. That would be an eighth, because then it's 0.625. So maybe there is an eighth of a point. I'm just going through this here quickly. So hopefully that answers your question. I think they're going to slowly do this a quarter of a point at a time. I mean, it's not healthy to have 0.25% key interest rates, to your point, Stacey. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we're looking at this happening, potentially 5 more times throughout the year, I'll definitely be watching to see what amount they go up by, because, to your point, Stacey, for buyers that are out there that need to get into something, this little tick up isn't necessarily going to knock them out of the market, but it is interesting when you look at the numbers for what your monthly payment is at, the different rates and how much it can come into play. Is it enough to have somebody no longer search if they're in a position where they need to buy? No, I don't think so. But as you're looking at your monthly payments, I mean, it certainly is a factor.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the housing payment's the one thing that hasn't inflated. If you look at these it's gone down. It's been historically low because of low rates. So it's almost keeping up with that. And I think what hopefully is going to happen is that's going to eventually, it'll alleviate this inventory issue that we continue to have. But there's got to be more homes that come on the market. Like, it's ticked up a little bit so far this month, but it hasn't been anything that's. Are you feeling that in the marketplace, you two, or is it still kind of more of the same since 2020?
I feel like more of the same. Yeah, I'd say. Well, and as we talked about before, just how fast paced everything goes. Even if they're, for depending on what. Area and whatnot, and what the different criteria is, maybe you will see a couple more things coming up, but if you're not out there right away, it's gone. So certainly no stale inventory, and in certain categories, I don't know that I've really seen much of an uptick. Mm-hmm. It just all kind of depends.
Yeah, definitely, and no stale inventory. I think it's more the same too. I feel the same way out there, especially in certain areas. It seems like. If one thing comes on, it's a feeding frenzy. It's like,
right.
Like you put the fish food and everybody's feeding on it.
Yep.
And it's gone. Less than 24 hours.
Well, so, that's just, I see there's so much demand out there right now. And these millennial home buyers that we've been talking about for years at this point, they haven't been able to find anything yet. So, and there's still some of them that are trying to figure out what they want to do. And they haven't really made a decision, which I think is part of the problem, because a lot of people want to go out and look, but they're not. I don't know if they're serious about buying. They've heard these stories. Oh, we're going to go shop around for homes, and they want to go. They're not.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
Yeah, there's nothing fun about buying a house. The fun part's when you move in. That's the fun part. So with that, we're seeing that the housing market. I don't see any of these Fed decisions affecting the housing market. I totally agree with you, Stacey. However. There's an article on Housing Wire from Logan Madashami, and he is saying that this quarter of a point rate hike is his second this is a tongue twister here, second recession red flag. The first one was when inflation went north of 4% and the 2-year yield went over 0.56%. And again, that's a Treasury bill. So he's concerned about a recession coming with this. So what do you two think about that?
Well, yeah, and he's also mentioned he's looking for the third red flag, and if that third red flag comes up, then it's like automatic for him. It meets the criteria of recession. Again, we were in a recession, and the housing market, it wasn't affected by the recession. We had a booming housing market. Granted, it was a recession because of the pandemic, but we were still in a recession. None of us have a crystal ball. We don't know. There's so many factors. There's so many things going on in the world today. And we still don't know those effects. on everything, supply chain, all that stuff, because we were already having supply chain issues. But as far as housing market's concerned, I still think that this is definitely going to be a solid year in the housing market. And I think it's pretty recession proof at this point.
Yeah, I would agree.
Well, and if you look at the data historically of what happens during recessions, besides 2008, so you take that out of it because that was based on bad lending, and you've heard me say this before, the other 4 recessions prior to 2020, housing prices only went down one time, and they went down less than 2%. So I don't see values dropping. If there is a recession, though, do you see some people kind of maybe pulling out of the market altogether? They're more conscious of their money because I've been through 2008, and that was real, and then people were really concerned about jobs and all sorts of stuff. So do you see that causing maybe some of these people that were like tire kickers to actually get out of the housing market?
Potentially. And I think that, for the most part, those may be people that already were kind of pulling out as things have been tight and competitive. If you're just kind of in it looking for that deal or, not super motivated, there's a chance you've already pulled back at this point.
Mm-hmm. Are you seeing that in like with some clients? Have you seen people just say, hey, you know what? I'm not like, have you had those conversations?
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. Yeah. And for some of them, as I kind of like look back over the last, since the pandemic started, people that had even pulled back then and are still in a position, or I have others that we have been out, we've looked at homes, we've put in offers, and they're just like, you know what? No, this doesn't work for me right now. Let's wait and see how it plays out. And, as we've said a million times, like we don't have a crystal ball. We can educate them to the best of our knowledge with what we expect to be coming up and kind of give them what's currently going on, what our projections are. But, if you're not highly motivated, this might not be the best time for you to be out there.
Especially if you're, if your emotions tend to run a little high during this process. I mean, it is a gut kick each time you don't get an offer accepted. Yeah. So you really just have to treat it like a business and get back to your motivation. Why are you doing this? Why do you want to buy a house? Do you want to stop renting? Do you want to stop paying someone else's mortgage? You want to start your generational wealth by investing in real estate. I think it's, the best move. But if their emotional fortitude is not there for whatever reason,
right?
I had a couple and she was pregnant and she couldn't take it. I mean, she was highly emotional anyway.
Right.
But like every time they lost an offer, it was just like she just lost it.
Right.
So, and her husband was just like, I'm done. I can't take this. So they're out. But I understand, every situation's different.
Sure.
Well, and the thing is, these people that are deciding not to wait or not to purchase, I don't think it's going to be any better for them later.
It's not.
I mean, Zillow just released its latest forecast. I don't know if you saw this. So this is bananas. So this happened last Wednesday, and Zillow is now predicting the year-over-year rate of home price growth will hit 22% in May.
That's wild.
That's
oh my gosh.
larger. And over the past 12 months, home prices are up 18.8% nationally. Now, again, locally, we're seeing more like 10, 12% here in the greater Philadelphia area, depending what county you're in. That uptick nationally is larger than any 12-month period leading up to the 2008 housing crash. I still don't buy that we're going to see a crash. I've said it many times. I know you two are in the same boat, but 22% is insane.
I mean, I remember the other week we were talking about Zillow had predicted 16%.
So they're up 8.
We thought that was like,
crazy. Yeah.
Right. Just like, oh my gosh, that's a huge number. And now 22.
Mm-hmm.
It's
yeah. And I get that question a lot. We're in a bubble and it's the housing. What, I'm waiting for the crash, or is the market going to crash? And you have to explain to people what happened in 2008. If they, first of all, if they weren't in the area, they weren't here, and they just don't have that information. And you just have to make them understand that's not the situation that we're in now. But yeah, that increase, 22%, that's wild.
Well, it's also harder getting a mortgage now, and a lot everyone. I mean, up to 2008, literally, if you had a pulse, they had stated income loans. You guys know what that is?
Yes.
You basically tell someone what your income is.
Right. No doc.
It's like, hey, here, no docs. Like, I'm good. I'm good for it, right?
Yep.
And the rates were a lot higher. So now what we've seen, I mean, that the annual rate of home price growth that was posted since 1986 is 4.6%. So that's nearly 4 times greater than the annual appreciation that we're seeing. Now, Zillow's they're the ones saying it's going to go up this high. Other economists and experts aren't saying that they're going to be 22%. We've seen ranges anywhere from like 4% all the way up to 22%. So we'll see who's right. Right now, Zillow does have an advantage, and this is what a lot of people don't realize. You know what company Zillow owns? I don't even know if you two know this.
Trulia?
Trulia. Well, they own Trulia. Yeah. That's one. Think real-time data. Where's the real-time data coming in?
Showing time?
Close. Dot loop.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So they know exactly when
you're writing an offer, what you're
when they go pending. So you can see, okay, this home went pending.
Yeah.
Here's the average pending price point that we're seeing nationally before it even closes. So they've got the data literally in real time. So I do value their now it's not everyone uses dot loop, but they got data with that. That was a data purchase, right? And knowing that, I do value their modeling a little more because they're getting the real-time data. It's no different than when I chart stuff for you guys and say, okay, here's what we're seeing this month, and it's based on our team. I mean, we're using the same data. It's just a smaller subset. So, 22%, I mean, and that I think that's why the Fed is having this approach. They see how incredible this growth is in home prices, and they're also seeing, I mean, I was a buddy of mine was in California. It's like $7 a gallon for gas out there. I mean, it's $5 here. Yeah. Like people are really feeling that. I mean, prices are inflating, and inflation's become an issue because people can't buy like this. I think it comes back to supply chain more than anything else because there's not enough products out there. So they're saying, forget it. I'll just charge you whatever we want. I've even seen some home improvement prices where, clients of mine looking to get like granite installed and those sort of things. And they're getting numbers that are like 5 times the average.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not going to mention the companies here because that's not fair to anybody, but I'll tell you guys off the air. But it's 5 times the average, and they're renovating like restaurants and residential properties. So a lot of this is that everyone's so busy, and I think people have a little more disposable income because they haven't been going out and doing the things they normally do. It's starting to change a little bit. So
that did have more disposable income now.
Well, they blew it all in granite, right?
Yeah, that disposable income was a good buffer for a while. And I think so also that people, since we were shut down and couldn't do much, people were still, they want to go out and do things. They want to go out to eat. They want to meet friends. They want to go to the movies and stuff like that.
Well, luckily, I never bought into any of this, so I haven't stopped. So that's me. So the Fed, moving ahead, and we'll kind of wrap this up. I don't see this hurting the housing market. Is that kind of the unanimous opinion here that things are just going to keep moving?
Yep.
What I do think is that we're probably not going to see as many homes sell this year because we saw a record number last year. There's not enough homes on the market right now. I've also seen a little bit of an increase in off-market sales. Have you two noticed that?
Yes.
What do you think the driver is there?
You just got to find inventory where you can. So whether, you're trying to scrounge up some inventory for your clients off market, so be it. But I think that, the savvy agents are pulling out all the stops to find housing for their clients.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I've certainly seen more than I've seen in the past.
Well, maybe we're just aware of it now, too, because I also know that some people don't want to go through what it's like listing your home right now. I mean, just having 50 people through your home in a weekend, it's ridiculous. I mean, that isn't, I mean, you had a client that specifically said, I don't want people coming through my house.
Correct.
And I want to sell, which, tough situation.
Tough. Yeah.
But you made it happen, and she still got a great number. It's kind of, and this is a great segue into our next segment. We're going to talk about what agents should be doing to kind of reset their business because this has been a pretty incredible year, but you can't do the things that worked maybe even 2 years ago. It's if you're not doing this old school stuff and going back to the basics that work, that have been around for decades, that's where a lot of people are getting. That's where a lot of agents are just losing market share. They're losing opportunities. And I think that has as much to do with it as anything else because their buyers are looking at them saying, hey, like, I need your help. And the savvy people are actually going out and doing it. And they're the ones selling houses.
Correct. I agree with that.
All right. So We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. Everyone agrees the Fed is not going to cause a housing slowdown. Rates are going up. Just be ready to pay more in your monthly payment. I think it's kind of the way it works. Or don't wait would be the other advice.
Don't wait.
For sellers and buyers.
Yes.
So knowing that, we're going to come back. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to talk about what every agent should be doing and what they should be doing to get their business on track if they're not happy where it is so far this year. We're kind of getting through we're already through the first quarter in my view, but the actual fiscal quarter, we're ending that up, so it's a great time to reset. This is Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your income? Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit TomToole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line.
Buying a home or already own one? We can help. I am Kevin Hamill from Alliances Insurance Agency. If you haven't reviewed your policies in the last 3 years, now's the time. New home buyers, there are a number of ways that we can help you get to that settlement table. Call us to find out more at 610-816-0043, extension 3, or visit our website, alliancesinsurance.com. Don't forget the S, it's for savings.
When you're getting a mortgage, you shouldn't have to sacrifice great service just to get a great rate. At Mortgage America, we've been lending with this philosophy for over 35 years. We have access to great low rates without the complications and delays of big or online banks. We're a local Pennsylvania lender with loan officers that you can actually meet. As PHFA's #1 lender, we specialize in all residential mortgage programs, including first-time buyer programs and low down payment options. For your free pre-approval, call us at 610-439-8000 or apply online at mymortgageamerica.com.
Mortgage America's equal housing lender, NMLS 12850.
I'm Tom Toole of the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line. If you're thinking of becoming a real estate agent in the greater Philly area, I have a special offer for you. Our team did $165 million of volume in 2021, making us the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania and a top 1% team nationally. Our agents love us because we offer them a successful career, a great life, and an unbeatable culture. Agents who've been with us for at least a year average 30-plus sales. Even our brand new agents average 17 to 24 sales a year. We offer proven systems and expert training. We help you set more appointments and sell more houses. Now here's the offer. If you don't have a real estate license yet, we offer real estate scholarships so you can get one for free. Check it out at realestatescholarshipprogram.com or visit the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line at tomtoole.com. That's tomtoole.com. Get more out of your real estate career, and remember the real estate golden rule. You always get more when you work with Tom Toole. The Tom Toole Sales Group is the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania with over $165 million in volume for 2021. I'm Tom Toole, and our team has achieved that kind of success by being a great place to work with and to work for. No one knows Greater Philly better than we do. We know real estate, but more importantly, we're real people. We hire the best agents and we give them all the tools to succeed. Even our brand new agents sell 17 to 24 homes a year because our team delivers the best experience in real estate. Teams deliver a better experience than individuals, and we're a top 1% real estate team in the country. We call it AAA service. We're your advocate, ally, and advisor because this isn't a transaction to us. It's a relationship. If you're buying or selling a home, call the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line at 610-692-6976 or visit tomtoole.com. That's tomtoole.com. Sell your home for more, and remember the real estate golden rule. You always get more when you work with Tom Toole. All right, we are back on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Tymon. She's Stacey Mitchell. We've got Gabe behind the camera. And again, we are streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Just look up Tom Toole Sales Group. And we are part of the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And what we're going to talk about now is kind of a segue into what we just discussed, because it's obviously it's a competitive market. It's as hard for realtors, in my view, especially on the purchase side, as it is for the buyers themselves. I wouldn't say as hard, but it's hard for realtors too, because you're working with these people. I mean, what's the longest you've each worked with a client? Like, and they got a house. Like, I mean,
I'm still working with some that I've been. Like, if it really depends how specific.
So is that 2 years? I'm hearing.
It could, yeah,
it's
really.
Literally 2 years.
They're very specific in what they want and what neighborhood. So, and they're willing to wait it out. But trust me, when something comes up in the neighborhood that they're looking,
Yeah.
we're right there looking at it.
So 2 years. What about you? Same. So, and I mean, I've had some clients I've worked with, 1-2 years, especially like the seller that has they want to find the right home, but they have a very focused search, to your point.
Yep.
I mean, my wife and I recently moved. We looked for a year. We only looked at 3 houses, but took 12 months to find it because we knew, like, okay, here's where we can move to because of elementary school or other things. So knowing that's the case, when we talk about realtors, to me, and we've talked about this, and a lot of the coaches that are out there and people in the industry, there's going to be 2 kinds of agents in 2022. There's going to be the ones that say, well, inventory was low, it was a tough year, didn't have a lot of opportunities. So you hear all the victim language there, right? Mm-hmm. Then there's the people that are going to say, I had my best year ever because I got back to basics. So that's what we want to talk about here, because I don't know that enough agents are actually taking control of their business instead of just letting it happen to them. Is that a fair statement?
Totally fair.
Okay, so we listed out a couple things, and I mean, to give everyone some perspective, my first year in real estate, Zillow didn't exist, right? Realtor.com was like barely a platform at that point. And it wasn't that long. I guess it was 21 years ago. So it was longer than you would think. It doesn't seem that long ago. And I charted out my first 2 years of sales full time, and everything either came from a Sphere connection or a phone call, whether it was like a circle dial, an expired, I door knocked, whatever it was. So we're going to go through some different lead sources here that agents should be looking at now, where they can go out and generate their own business, not pay referral fees to portals, because that, it's great when you get that lead that wants to buy right away, but it costs you money, and you either get money or time back. And how they're working by design, just like the coaching call we had today with our coach, Jeff Mays, versus running around and kind of being like in a fire drill. Does that sound fair?
Fair.
So, Sarah, I'm going to kick it to you first, because you've started to embrace something that is near and dear to my heart. So why don't you explain?
So old expired listings and withdrawn listings are, a great area to target. These are people that went through the effort of actually putting their home on the market with a true intention to get that property sold. And for whatever reason, it didn't end up happening. And either the term that they had set up with their listing agent came to an end and it expired, or they decided to pull it off the market. So this is a great place to kind of start and to reach out to and to find out like what happened the last time that you had it listed. Like, did your situation change, or did you not get the number that you want, or did you get fed up, or did it fall apart during inspection, appraisal, all of those pieces? So, being able to reach out to them to find out what the situation is, and depending on how long ago it was that they went off the market, I mean, given how much appreciation we have seen, they may be in a whole different ballgame now. And just kind of giving them that data and showing them what's going on in the market and what you potentially could get for it today, as well as, all the buyers that are out there potentially looking in that neighborhood. Like, this will go, So that's been a good source of people to reach out to.
So you've had some success with this. This isn't just theory here, and I think that's where a lot of agents, they get stuck. Like they like, oh, it's a great idea, but they don't actually do it. So you've had a listing appointment from this. You're working on a pretty nice listing, I would say, without giving away any details. How hard was it finding the information? How much time did you have to spend on it? Because that's where people, they always like, they kind of negotiate with themselves about when it comes time to do the work. But I know what actually happened. So could you explain that?
Sure. So when I first started, it was to I was looking specifically for a buyer that, had very specific criteria for what they wanted to be, where they wanted to be. So I was kind of combing through looking for matches for them. And then from that, kind of came up with a short list and then reached out to those individuals. So there, it did take a little bit more prep because I had to go through and make sure that this was going to work for the buyer that I had in mind. So kind of researching all of those different pieces took, not terribly long, but, you want to look back and see what are all the features of the property first for, is this going to match up? Then kind of combing through and seeing like, well, when did it go on? When did it go off? Did it go under contract? how long was it under contract, and kind of trying to piece together what may have happened so that when you call to get the information, hopefully somebody picks up or they get back to you, but that you're not just saying like, hey, what happened? I want to get your listing. You're like, hey, I'm looking through all of this. Tell me what I don't know here, because I think this property looks like it should move if you're still in a position that you want to sell. But I think if you were to go through and maybe just pick like a neighborhood or pick an area, you'd still want to have that, or I would still want to have that information together before making the call, but it maybe wouldn't take quite as long on the back end there of piecing together a proper fit.
So anybody can do this?
Yeah.
Okay. And how many people did you reach out to? Because I want to give everyone an idea what like your ratio is to getting an appointment.
Yeah. So in this case, I think it was about 5.
So 20% conversion rate. I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm sold. That's all I need to hear. I would do it immediately.
Yep.
It's really good, right? So
yeah, it's really good.
Old expired listings, because a lot of people say there's nothing that expired. Well, there's nothing that maybe expires right now. To me, there's always 3 groups of expired listings. The people that are going to relist right away, the people that are going to maybe not sell or reevaluate, which I think is kind of this group. And now the market's changed so dramatically, there's a reason to reach out. And there's the folks that maybe take 2 to 6 months to kind of decide what they want to do. Maybe they're going to try to time it better. Maybe they got to do some work. So, but again, you brought up a great point. They listed their home and wanted to sell. Mm-hmm. So this is like an obvious thing to me. I mean, I love expired listings because I really believe you're helping people there too. Probably more so than because they had a bad agent. I mean, we've all seen. Yeah, Stacey's face says it all. Couldn't hear that on the radio, but that's okay. So old expired listings. So that's one. So Stacey, you're doing something too, right?
Yes. Circle dialing.
Tell us more.
Mm-hmm. So circle dialing is basically just mapping out a neighborhood, and typically it's around an area that a listing of ours has sold, and I just reach out to folks in the neighborhood, and if somebody answers, I just provide them the information about the home that's sold in their neighborhood, and just ask them questions and let them talk and tell me their story and see if there's any interest there, or if they know of anybody who might be interested in listing. And it's been fruitful. As a matter of fact, I had my first buyer consult and listing appointment all at the same time this past weekend based on a circle dial.
So how many of those calls have you made? And so you said you got your first appointment, and I think there is a volume game you have to play here. So I just want everyone to get a little perspective here.
How many times did I follow up with this particular person?
How many people have you reached out to?
Circle dialing? Quite a bit. I mean, you get folks that are just like, no, and I say, can you keep my number? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or they hang up the phone on you, or it's the wrong number. But you kind of get hardened to that stuff anyway. But you'd be surprised. People are very engaging if you. So was it like 100, 200? Okay, number. Probably 200.
200? Okay. So 1 out of 200 is not bad. I mean.
I have some on the hook that I'm still nurturing.
That's what I'm saying. But I mean, the fact that you got an appointment out of 200 calls.
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably make those calls in a couple hours if you just sat on the phone and did it. So
for sure.
And do you find a lot of people are reaching out to these folks, or is this a less competitive situation, harder to identify the actual person who's ready to transact?
Yeah, I think, I've had people say that, somebody called me a couple of months ago about my house or whatever. But for the most part, I don't get that. I don't really get that. People, the ones that do answer, they might know about the house that's sold and they're curious about that. But yeah, it's not like this happens all the time where they're bombarded with phone calls. No.
And that was my point, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I would imagine way, way less than even like when you go into the expireds. I think
those people get assaulted by realtors.
And and I think that in like waves, there's like the initial wave of just like where they're probably like, I mean,
they won't even answer the phone.
I don't know how many people have landlines these days, but like where they may just like unplug it,
Right.
Like, oh my God. So I would imagine that if you're going around circle dialing, you're not having people that had that volume.
Right. And I guess they don't feel as threatened either. You're not coming at them with information and just to see where it goes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and you took the words right out of my mouth there. You guys are both delivering value, right? Oh, hey, have you seen what's happened in the market in the past 24 months since your home came off the market? Or, hey, did you see what the neighbor's home sold for? Some people are totally oblivious. Like they don't even care. And that's okay because they're probably not ready to transact. But if you build that relationship and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, and this happens invariably, when you prospect and build your pipeline, all of a sudden someone calls you. It's like, hey, you called me 2 years ago. I've been getting your emails. We're thinking about selling right now. Can you come out? Like it happens like that because once someone's ready, they're ready to go. So we're talking about old expired listings, circle dialing. Door knocking has been a big thing, a big topic of late. And this is something I did a lot when I in like 2006, 2007, 2008. And to me, that's such an effective way because you want to find a place that's like walkable. I think that's like you can't be going to a neighborhood where it's like 3-acre lots and you got to walk between all. I mean, you get 10 houses in like 3 hours. It's going to take forever. But if it's a place where it and door knocking can go a lot of different ways. It could be an expired listing, so it's like highly targeted door knocking where you know that there's a reason to reach out to them. A neighborhood where you're trying to get into, you want to sell some homes there, some place that's walkable. You have to be careful with HOAs. Obviously, there typically is a restriction on the solicitation there. Anytime you can get face-to-face with somebody, I mean, how well does it go for you when you get face-to-face?
So much better.
I know your conversion rate. So you got
so much better face-to-face, yeah.
So you're taking that risk. Now, is it harder to do? You got to commit to the time. Like, you got to time block it. A buddy of mine, he's going to do a training for us actually next week. He's going every Friday and door knocking. Newport Beach, like multi-million-dollar properties. So the point is that, I mean, you can do it there, you can do it anywhere. So is that something you guys have tried, or like tell us more about your experience and I can share mine?
I have not tried, but I've made a commitment with a team member that we're going to go door knocking.
Commitment, huh? I like the wording there.
Well, we said that we're going to hold each other accountable. So how
are you going to do that? What's the plan?
The plan is, we're going to deliver 5 CMAs each before April 1st. We're going to do it together. So he's going to pick his target. They're going to be targeted.
Meaning, like, how are you targeting them?
So based on the ownership, the duration of the ownership of the home. So he's looking for like 20 years plus ownership. And in different areas. He's looking at a very specific township. So, and that he's got his picked out already. I haven't done that, but I know general areas. So I'm going to do my research, target. We're going to put some information together with the CMAs along with some seeds. So for springtime, yes, along with our smiling faces on some marketing materials that Val's going to make up for us. So yes, so we're going to do this before April 1st. And then following that, we're going to do our door knocking.
Well, and Tom Ferry came on our show and said basically just deliver a CMA a day and you're going to get listings. So I love that strategy because, again, you're giving value. We're not just saying, hey, I'm here to sell your house, which is what a lot of realtors, they just close too hard. They're like 16-year-old guys at like a high school dance. It's horrible. Instead of actually like delivering value. So I love that, and I think you got to have something to drop off because if you don't see them there. Yeah, I used to have those like plastic door hangers. We put like a flyer in of sales activity and just leave it right on the doorknob. And because you can't put anything in the mailbox because that's illegal. Right. A lot of people don't know that. I love door knocking though because if you do the things that like nobody else wants to do, because not a lot of agents want to do door knocking, right? You commit to that stuff, then that's where you start to take market share and earn business. That's really good. So,
well, and I think it's also with that, if somebody opens the door, you're going to get a little bit more, like they may be like, no, not interested, and shut the door. But for
that's happened to me many times, by the way.
Right. But you're probably going to get maybe a little tidbit more information from them. Or like, people are less likely when it's face to face to just completely shut it down. Even if it ultimately is, no, we're not interested. They may, kind of say, oh, but, these guys down the street have been there for, or, whatever. I just find that face to face people tend to open up a little bit more.
I mean, if someone, like the only door-to-door sales I've gotten have been like the energy company that wants to like group in your, what I'm talking, like join, and like that's the only one I've ever dealt with. But if someone's coming and saying, hey, here's what's going on in your neighborhood, or you show up smiling, you're dressed professionally, like think about all the steps in here, and then if you practice your scripts and know the right questions to ask, and a lot of times it's just to get them talking. It's not like about real estate. You'd be surprised what people tell you. I'm a little jaded because I've been doing this so long, but I mean, some people, they just want to talk and be nice. Like that's, it's an amazing thing. So we got door knocking. Love that. Circle dialing, expired listings. I think that is there anything else, and we got a couple minutes here, anything else that's working in your business right now that maybe is more of like an old school technique that you've started to implement? And I've got one more thing everyone should be doing, and then we can kind of move on here. And we got Jenny here from Tom James. She's going to be our guest in the third segment here. But anything you guys are seeing success with is maybe a little old school?
Well, so I haven't had success yet, but one other thing that I've been doing, and this was again targeted to very specific neighborhoods, or actually like a condo group there, neighborhood, for a buyer, going in and looking at not only that the owner has had the property for, at least like 10 years maybe, but also that it's not owner occupied. So they are, they're most likely renting it out. So in that case, going in and saying like, hey, this is what you got it for then. This is what I think you like. Would you be ready to cash out? And in those situations, it tends to be a little less emotional, and they don't need to relocate. This is just they've got renters, or they just have this as an investment property, and they might not realize what they actually could get for it. So when I've done that, though, it has been targeted, again, trying to just kind of like pair something up for a buyer. And, I got feedback. I mean, a lot of it was no, but at least, you got some answers, or some people that were maybe interested to get more information. And then so far, I haven't lined it up for this particular person yet, but, people were interested in hearing what it would be.
Well, you got to start somewhere, right? Like, you're not gonna get a yes right out of the gate, because if that happened, everyone would be selling real estate. It's the people, and this is any sale. You got to kind of stick with it and keep following, and then all of a sudden, if you stay committed to that, you're gonna have like a bunch of appointments come out of nowhere, and you're like, holy crap, I can't believe it all worked. But that's how it works every single time. It's never like every 8 people I talk to, I get an appointment. It doesn't work that way. So. Right. So I love that. The last thing I would kind of hit on here is working your sphere. And we've talked about this before, but like reaching out to them in a meaningful way, like a handwritten note, a personalized video, something like that. Because, I mean, literally, I called one of our past clients on his birthday. I haven't talked to him since he sold his house. It was like 2 years ago. He goes, hey, I'm glad you called. My son wants to buy a house. Like okay, awesome. I mean, but I wasn't calling to get business. Like, that's the thing. So we hit a lot of old school stuff here. You're doing this stuff, you're going to win in 2022. I think that's the point here, because it's really competitive right now. And, every time a buyer loses out to 10 other offers, that means there's 10 losers in that situation. Anyone pick up on the focus of all these different lead pillars that we talked about here? There's one common thread.
Generating more listings.
Generating more listings, right? And if you start thinking that way, that's how you win. I think, and most agents don't want to do that. They're chasing deals instead of building a business.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to wrap it there. We got Jenny coming on next from Tom James. This is Toole Time, Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
Buying a home or already own one? We can help. I am Kevin Hamoff from Alliances Insurance Agency. If you haven't reviewed your policies in the last 3 years, now's the time. New home buyers, there are a number of ways that we can help you get to that settlement table. Call us to find out more at 610-816-0043, extension 3, or visit our website, alliancesinsurance.com. Don't forget the S, it's for savings.
Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your income? Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit TomToole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line.
The Tom Toole Sales Group is the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania with over $165 million in volume for 2021. I'm Tom Toole, and our team has achieved that kind of success by being a great place to work with and to work for. No one knows Greater Philly better than we do. We know real estate, but more importantly, we're real people. We hire the best agents, and we give them all the tools to succeed. Even our brand new agents sell 17 to 24 homes a year because our team delivers the best experience in real estate. Teams deliver a better experience than individuals, and we're a top 1% real estate team in the country. We call it AAA service. We're your advocate, ally, and advisor. Because this isn't a transaction to us. It's a relationship. If you're buying or selling a home, call the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line at 610-692-6976 or visit TomToole.com. That's TomToole.com. Sell your home for more, and remember the real estate golden rule. You always get more when you work with Tom Toole. All right. We are back on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Stacey Mitchell. She's Sarah Tymon. And we've got Jenny Monser here. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name right. You've told me people get it wrong.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Awesome. So she's from Tom James. And that's a custom clothing company. So Jenny, why don't you kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and then what you do, and then we'll just kind of get into a discussion here and talk about your business, because I think it's pretty similar to what we do in a lot of ways.
Okay, yeah. I'd love to hear the similarities there. But yeah, I mean, we're both in sales. But
Yes.
yeah, so I work for Tom James. Our office is in King of Prussia, but we basically are for the greater Philadelphia area. So I go to my clients' home or offices and I sell them custom clothing. So we do suits, sport jackets, shirts, pants, kind of everything. Recently, we've been doing a lot of casual wear, as you guys could probably take a guess. Not a lot of guys are wearing suits anymore. So yeah, all of our stuff is vertically integrated, made in the United States, which is very important to a lot of our clients, especially with supply and demand issues going on right now. We don't want to outsource any of our products. So yeah, basically Tom's one of my clients. We're both dressed to the nines right now, as you can tell, both wearing our own Tom James stuff.
Apparently.
He's a great client of mine. But yeah, so that's a little bit about me.
So, I mean, what I find the most interesting about your company, and the thing I like the most, is that I don't have to go to the store. Like,
right.
do you guys like going to stores anymore? Like, I just think it's a total pain in the ass. Like shopping for clothes. Like, I have no time for this stuff.
I have to
gotta
totally be in the mood. Right. Yeah.
Right.
And we just never have time, though. It's like,
Right.
Yeah.
but you got to be in the mood.
Yeah, I like online shopping more, but I feel like when you go to the store, they just don't have what you want when you go there. Like, they don't have your size, and they just don't have the amount of inventory that they used to. So that's kind of the whole point, and that's the way that we made it through the pandemic, was because all of our products are, you order it and then it's made for you. It's not just already made up and then you just buy it off the rack. So everything does obviously come in your size. So yeah.
So for example, you go to someone's home to get their measurements, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is the turnaround time for when you meet with them to take their measurements and decide what they want to order to actually them getting the goods?
So it takes about 6 to 8 weeks for everything to be made. And then we do the alterations if there are any. And for those that are interested, they're free for the first 6 months of you owning the garment. So alterations take about like a week because we have tailors in-house in King of Prussia. So yeah, I usually say 6 to 8 weeks. If a guy is getting like married and they need like a tux, I usually say 10, just because if there's any alterations, I don't want there to be any issues for them. So yeah.
So what does a standard appointment look like when you come out? Do you bring the materials? Do you bring fabric samples? And
yeah, I actually look like an attorney because I roll this big black bag with me everywhere. It's full of just fabric swatches and measuring tools. Yeah, so that's all that I bring. And then I have an iPad because some guys like to know what the suit would look like completely made up. So we have pictures of it made completely up as well. And then besides like all the suits and stuff, we do jeans and sweaters and kind of like more casual stuff as well, because not everybody's wearing that stuff anymore. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And we do women's too, by the way.
Clearly, you're wearing your own clothes.
This isn't a man's shine.
And then is there an order minimum or?
No, we don't do a minimum. I have clients that sometimes will just hit me, like text me and just be like, I just need like a couple pairs of jeans or something like that. And we don't have a minimum. I kind of feel like I'm just more based on, I just want to please my clients and I just want to build my clientele. A big way that we get our clients is through referrals. So I just want to kind of make sure they don't have to go to the store. So I'm like a one-stop kind of shop deal. So we do everything. And it's more like for the convenience factor of not going shopping. Like you can just text me and I'll just help you with anything. So
yeah, and then you get something completely custom and
right, and it'll fit you. I have your measurements, and you don't have to keep getting measured over and over and over unless you decide to hit the Peloton like Tom did.
Yeah, well, that's because I was a fat ass, but that's a different story. So
yeah, I'm altering a lot of Tom's old stuff.
Yes.
But, yeah.
Problem. I mean, it's a good problem to have, I guess.
That's a good problem to have. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just see like this to me is how people are going to start shopping, though. Because I mean, think about how things have changed over the past 2 years. I mean, we're seeing it as well. Like people want everything faster, quicker, and a lot of people don't want to leave their house anymore. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that's healthy. It's just the reality of the. Are you seeing an uptick in your business now that
Well, yeah, I feel like I get questions all the time how we made it through the pandemic and stuff, and it's because people don't really like people that much. It's kind of and like people don't want to go out and they don't want to go shopping and they do want things quick. That's why people love Amazon, and they want things to fit. They don't want to have to deal with all the crap of returning and all of that stuff. So it's definitely become a huge increase recently, especially with guys like that are in sales that get it, that like want the quick stuff. So yeah.
And what areas do you go to?
What do you mean?
I guess, do you go into the city and then how far out in the suburbs?
Yeah. So I go into the city twice a week, and then I like hit usually like South Jersey when I do that, and then I do like Chester County, which is when I usually see him, and then Delco, and then I go to Bucks County too.
Okay.
Yep. So it's kind of like all over the place.
And then you have like set days that you're in.
Right. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep. And you the cool thing about starting at Tom James is you pick where you want to go. So we have guys that go to like the Lehigh Valley. I do not do that, that's cool if you want to do that, but I don't do that. And then people that go to like North Jersey and like Central, but I don't do that either. So I like to keep it kind of close to the office because we're in King of Prussia. So
nice.
Yeah.
I can totally relate to that.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. I mean, I like this sounds pretty similar. Like you're working on referrals, right?
Right.
So we were just talking about that. You're traveling all over the place to go do business. So how did you how have you built your business? Because I think it's really interesting to hear like what happens from like you get a job to you end up where you are now. You're getting like some awards or something I saw on LinkedIn. So explain that, because I don't think a lot of people get how to build a career. And I don't think this is any different than what we do. I mean, this is exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah, it's tough in the beginning. You kind of have to really just put your head down and I get a lot of referrals. That's actually the big way that I get the best of my business is through referrals. There's a few different ways that we do. We do drop-ins, like we'll just drop into a business, which is kind of old school. But a lot of people appreciate those.
Sounds like door knocking.
Right. It's very... That's exactly what it is. We call it kicking down the doors. That's what we say. We do that a lot. Something that we do that's a little different that most people don't do is called floating. So if a guy's dressed nice, we'll actually go up to them and just compliment them on their outfit and get their business card. That's actually a great way to get business. A lot of my good clients are from that, but you have to be like not creepy about it.
There's probably like a fine line there.
Yeah, we try our best not to cold call. That's kind of the idea. We always want to warm up our calls before we give them. We want to avoid that as in any way that we can. We use LinkedIn a lot, and just kind of like messaging. Our company doesn't advertise. Actually, it's because it's expensive, and we want to use our money towards high quality clothing and not just commercials and stuff like that. So we do use like LinkedIn and stuff like that, just because it's obviously like it's free advertisement.
I don't think it's free though, because you have to. If you're going to convert on those sites, you have to do the one-to-one outreach. Like you have to do the prospecting.
Right.
And a lot of people, and we talk about this all the time, because a lot of realtors use social media. They think all of a sudden they're going to get all this business, but it doesn't matter unless you actually reach out and do the prospecting activities anyway.
Yeah.
But then they're warmed up, to your point, because it's basically like a billboard for your business.
Exactly.
So how did you what made you comfortable doing that? How did you start? It's going well now, but what were some of the challenges you went through? Because I'm sure realtors or anyone that's thinking about getting into sales has probably felt the same thing.
You hear a lot of no's. You kind of just have to have a tough skin already and just be okay with that. That's why I always say the best jobs, the reason why a lot of people can't do sales is because tough jobs just don't pay. They do pay well. I don't know if that made sense. But the hardest jobs pay well because not a lot of people can do them. And sales is one of those jobs because it's a harder job and not everybody can do it. And I feel like sales jobs have a lot of turnover rates and stuff like that just because people can't handle rejection. I think it just takes honestly just a lot of going through it and building that tough skin. I'm training people now and they're going through that right now and it's really tough on them. But I always just kind of say, just take the emotion out of it. I feel like if you actually put your heart into every appointment, you're just going to set yourself up for up and down, and every single day is different. And that's just so exhausting. So I feel like you just kind of have to put your head down and just try your best to just take the emotion just out of it every single time, if that makes sense.
So did you two feel that way when you got into real estate?
Yeah. Well, we have the 5-second funeral. So,
Same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I always say don't get upset over something for longer than 5 minutes if it won't affect you from 5 years from now. Yep. So let yourself get really upset for 5 minutes and then just let it go because it just doesn't matter anymore.
Yep.
Right. And I mean, the more time you spend being upset about something, then that's more time that you wasted not doing something else. And it's nothing you can do anything about. So yeah, just kind of being like, all right, that's a no, move on.
Right. Exactly.
So Jenny, how can people get in touch with you? We got about 3 minutes left here. So what's the best way for them to reach out if they're interested in clothes or, getting a custom suit or anything like that? What's best?
Yeah, I'm not going to put my number on the air. That's probably not a good idea. I have Instagram. It's like at Philly Suit Girl. And then my LinkedIn is Jennifer Monser. You can use either one. And then my email also, if you want to, is j.monser. It's monster, but with no T. So MONSER at tomjames.com.
Very cool. Very cool. So at Philly Suit Girl on Instagram is where you can follow Jenny. We got a couple minutes left. What should people know about you that you want to make sure that you get the word out today, or they should know about your company or any of your services?
Well, if you're interested in clothes that fit, that are high quality, just reach out to me because I'll make it a lot easier for you than really anybody else that I can think of, any other company. That's kind of our motto, is that we'll just always come to you. So if you don't want to leave your house and you want something that's nice and it fits well, then just hit me up.
I do agree there's a big difference between getting like a suit off the rack and one that's like custom. I mean, you feel more confident. And I think that's the, like going into people's houses and trying to interview to like get them to list their home. Like that's, the confidence level is so critical. Yeah,
that's probably the best part about what I do is when a guy gets something that actually fits, you see their face just like light up. It's like so exciting. It's just like makes their day. I feel like the guys I work with are so busy and they just, they're always just like head down and so focused on what they do. And then I just come into their office like, hey, I have a new fitting suit for you. And I'm just like a break in their day, which is nice. It's just like, okay. And then they just put it on. They're like, yeah. And they feel good. It's a good feeling.
Very cool. Anything else you want to add? We got a minute left. You guys got any questions?
Just real quick, what was probably one of the funniest appointments that you've been on?
Good question.
Comes to mind?
Oh my gosh. Funniest? Oh man. I feel like a lot of the appointments I go on are pretty funny. Hold on, I need to think about that. Funniest appointment. Well, I've had multiple times that guys like slit their pants when putting them on, if that's funny. I mean, it's funny.
That is phenomenal.
But it's not. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't that they didn't fit. It's just some people just don't know how to put on custom pants, so they kind of just like. And I've had that happen before. But if that ever happens, I have a tailor in house, so they can fix that.
Has that happened more than once?
Yes, it's happened.
Okay, awesome. We're gonna leave it there. Great way, Jenny. Thanks for coming on. Again, you want to follow Jenny? It's at Philly Suit Girl on Instagram. She works with Tom James. Highly recommend her. I'm a client. That's where I get all my clothes, at least for work. So at Philly Suit Girl on Instagram. You want to follow Stacey? She's at the number 2 Mitchco on Instagram. Sarah's at Ty_Ty Time on Instagram. You can follow me at Tom Toole 3RD, at Tom Toole the 3rd on Instagram. And we are streaming live every week. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Click subscribe on the YouTube channel. That's all we got. It's Toole Time, Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.